Hello, welcome to Art of Mindfulness, and my name is Steven,
I'm Trent.
I'm Am.
and today we'll be talking about gentleness or being gentle. Just to note, we do have some things going on around us, so please excuse us if you hear or happen to hear any background noises or music or anything such like that. But yeah, forgive us. Okay, so gentleness. First of all, gentleness is a choice. And I guess what that could mean is gentleness is sort of like consideration. Um, we sort of choose how, for example, when you are touching a baby, uh, the thought of touching that baby with care and gentleness sort of arrives. But because knowing that it's a baby, that it's such a small and fragile piece of life, you want to be gentle around that. And there are other things that we can be choose to be gentle about. Like for example, perhaps we choose to be gentle around our plants and our family and our friends, and perhaps gentle with our um, most precious belongings or family artifacts, maybe even clothes. But yeah, gentleness is a consideration for the things that I don't really know how to say that, but I would say the things that you care about, I suppose. Gentleness is also how you apply to what it is that you might be doing. For example, in this flow, maybe perhaps being gentle could be being mindful of your restrictions today or in general, or what being mindful of something that could be bothering you. For example, maybe you have pain somewhere in your body, and you need to step back or give less in order to um, be gentle or add that gentleness thought around that. So yeah, being gentle is also a mental and a physical, both a mental and physical practice. Yeah, you can be gentle with your mind as well as your body, and yeah, there are other things you can be gentle about with your body. For example, like running, like swimming, and such and such. But yeah, mm, I think that's it for me.
Right. On the subject of gentleness, I was thinking about like having gentle thoughts, um, especially when we're up to a challenge or if we're in a social environment. Sometimes, just in general, people, we can be hard on ourselves. Um, so being gentle with your thoughts might mean like talking yourself down from being harsh with yourself or criticizing yourself or kind of like negative self-talk. And then that's the same for other people as well. So like when thoughts of judgment come up, or when thoughts of like violent thoughts come up, just thinking about how to shift that into more of a gentle place. Um, yeah, our thoughts and our language, the language that we use, uh, like shifts the way that we show up in the world. So when we have gentle thoughts and when we have gentle, like rather than judgments, when we have like gentle and considerate and empathetic thoughts, that's how we show up in the world. Which reminds me of relationships.
Mm.
Yeah, just like having intentions like throughout any type of practice, no matter what it is, intention's always going to be engulfed in that or embedded in that some way somehow. And like, I guess for like gentleness with relationships, it's just like the saying, do to others what you want to be done to you. So it's like, if you want to receive gentleness, you would always give gentleness. Not doing it to be like, oh, I'm doing this so I can receive this in return. Like, or you hear people be like, oh, I don't want no bad karma, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this stuff. Um, Kind of the similar thing. It's just like you're doing it because you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Not because you're like, I'm trying to gain something over something. It's just like intentionally being gentle and just letting things flow the way it should. Um, and that's what all relationships being gentle towards, because it's just like whatever energy you're giving towards any type of relationship, you're gonna get that in return. So that's just what it is. So just be mindful of your gentleness and intentional.
I have a thought on that. Like thinking something I teach my dance students is how to control energy and how we choose to distribute particular amount of energy to what we're doing. But perhaps this can be an exercise or a thought around how we can be more gentle with everything that happens to us. So, for example, like sometimes I would tell my students to perform their dance piece with just 90%, or maybe taking that to 20%, or maybe even 40%. Are you at, or even just being mindful about where your energy is. Are you at 100%? Are you at 60%? You know what I mean? And making note of that, do you need to, maybe a gentle consideration is also telling yourself to do a little bit more or maybe a little bit less. So, yeah, maybe thinking about whatever you might be doing, whatever activity or such and such, thinking about where your energy is as you're doing it, and then taking it to a point where, oh, is it more gentle for me to add a little bit more, or is it more gentle for me to give a little less to what I'm doing? And how will that play an effect of what it is that you're doing, Yeah.
That's big facts.
The last point that I wanted to vocalize is the, like, we often bring up the nervous system when we're in Art of Mindfulness, and the two kind of like major parts of the nervous system are the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And when we're tapped into the sympathetic nervous system, that's the part of our response in our bodies that say, like, I need to either be in fight or flight mode or freeze mode. It's like a way to respond to something that uses stress. So it's a response in our body that when we're in a stressful space, or when we care about something really deeply, or we're nervous about something, it's an important part of our bodies. But the parasympathetic nervous system is usually what we're tapped into when we're being gentle. So if you think about sleep, when we're resting, we're just tapped into the parasympathetic nervous system. It's that part of our nervous system that says, like, I feel safe, I can close my eyes, I can rest, I'm in a safe environment. And if somebody were to wake you up and it's not gentle, like if you've ever had a situation where somebody wakes you up like really quickly, it quickly brings you to that sympathetic nervous system, where you kind of freak out, or you get into that kind of like space where you get a little bit stressed. So think about that's just like a good reminder of how being responded to in a gentle way, and how responding in a gentle way can help us to stay in that parasympathetic nervous system space, where instead of feeling stressed or anxious, that we're in a space of like rest and safety. Feeling safe is like a huge part of our health, our mental health, our physical health. So, I think just the way that we wake up with gentleness is a good way that we can like lead as an example of how we can go about the rest of our day. Think about how we treat others, and how we want to, even within close relationships, we might forget that somebody has that stressful part. So to like keep everyone in that space of gentleness responding to somebody with gentleness rather than violence or violent thoughts or judgment thoughts. Yeah.
Okay, so we have an activity that we wanted to do, and we'll actually be doing it with you while on screen. So again, please excuse any noises that may pop up. But yeah, so this activity is really simple. It's actually just a listing activity, aka or a writing activity. And simply, we would like you to list 5 things or perhaps people that you could potentially bring more gentleness to. So we'll begin with that, and just to keep fair with time, I'll put a timer. Maybe what? How long?
Let's do like 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. So again, list 5 things or people that you can bring more gentleness to. And it's okay if you can't list 5, or if you list more, that's up to you. So do less, do more, do just 5. It's up, whatever you want. All right, and we'll begin in 3, 2, 1, now.
And maybe if we're all done before 3 minutes, we can move on.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I can come up with 3 things. I have finished. All right. So, no matter what you've done or what you've written, how far you've gotten, just take a moment, maybe taking a breath and looking at what you wrote. So, there's another part to this activity, and we'll set the timer for 3 minutes again. And this time, you'll list for all of these 5 things, or how many ever things you've listed. You'll write out how you'll offer more gentleness. So basically, how. So we just listed 5 things or people that we'd like to bring more gentleness to. Now, list five, or let's list how you'll offer more gentleness for each of those listings.
Hmm.
Yeah. Ready? All right. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Seconds. Is it okay if I could click cancel?
Yep. All right. Just wanted to finish the last thing I wrote. Well, I think we're done. Are we sharing or are we moving on?
I would share reflections.
So not sharing what's on here.
Right.
Okay. Sure.
And also, like, for folks who are joining us through YouTube, if you want to share your reflections in the comment, you can, for sure. I would encourage that.
So, thinking about what I've written down, I think my gentleness comes from being more mindful about how I'm going about regular things. For example, like one of the things I wrote down is waking up. And what made me consider how I can be more gentle is thinking about how, in what ways am I guess I'm gonna put in terms or texture, rugged or rough in the mornings, how I might feel that way, and how I can take away or experiment by taking away or adding more of something else, and how that might play an effect. So thinking about the you know, the variables, or like the different things that are happening throughout an activity, you know. So I think for me, looking at like what I wrote down, yeah, mostly just things of like what is troubling me about those things, and what, and then thinking about what ways would, you know, make me feel like I'm more at ease and more like um being peaceful with what it is I'm doing, you know, and not trying so hard all the time, I think, to do something. You know, I think I'm always like eager to do something, especially in the mornings when I wake up. I'm always eager to do something, and I don't want to be. I want to be like more, all right, now I made it to that point. I'm gonna take it easy, stuff like that. But yeah.
That I have to mention that reminds me of one of the symptoms of white supremacy, which, you know, for anyone who grows up or like is in the American school system, we suffer from those symptoms, and that's like one of them, like feeling like you need to produce something, get something done, the sense of urgency, being gentle with that. I love that. I don't want to take up too much space because we have a little less than 10 minutes for our asana flow, but I noticed that for me, slowing down showed up in like a few. Empathizing, listening deeper, and yeah, mostly that, just empathizing and listening more.
Mm-hmm.
I think practicing silence and being in a space of, rather than reacting or responding, just like being open to listening and receiving, is where I think I'll find a little more gentleness with the things that I wrote down.
For me, just what popped up for me was reminders, and allowing my eternal self to be okay with helpful or like gentle reminders or like feedback. Allowing myself to allow the feedback to be analyzed and useful for someone, instead of being like, oh no, like I don't need that, like trying to shun it away. So that's what pretty much popped up for me. It's just allowing myself to take in information and just like having like healthy mantras to remind myself about things that I see.
Receiving. I like that. Word.
Also, just to circle back to like the 100%, 10% idea, like how you can be mindful of both ways. Like in my morning, it's like I know that I should have a bigger breakfast. So that's like me thinking I'm at 70%, I should be thinking 100% on breakfast. And then like another thing is like, I just wrote it down. It's like having less obligation in the morning. So breaking that from like 90% to maybe 40%. So doing less things in the morning for me, and like also doing more for those less things, you know, doing more of that. You know, if I'm going to make a breakfast, it should be a big breakfast, you know, and like, yeah. But just like having a smaller routine can be easier. But having a smaller routine can perhaps make those things in those routines more effective when you give it more time and care. So like, yeah, breaking it down on like, not just like squishing everything or trying to do everything that you'd like to do in one morning, and think about what's the thing that you would like to do this morning and maybe tomorrow morning or the morning after that, you know. Yeah. Okay, flow.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's flow. So make your way to your practice space if you aren't already there. If you're not sure what that can be, perhaps I would suggest laying on the floor. If you could stretch your arms and legs out without touching anything, that should be good. Also, we have yoga mats, but you know, you can practice anywhere. So if you don't have a yoga mat, that's totally fine. Maybe getting a blanket if you feel like you need something to protect your knees. Also, with that said, grab any pillows or anything like that that you might ask for support and such. Yeah, and water to hydrate yourself. This is a gentle flow, so perhaps for you that might mean to do less or be mindful about what you are doing. And if at any time you feel like anything is too much, or if it hurts, or just anything really, and you want to pull back and be more gentle to yourself, please do. And perhaps you can do so by going into child's pose. All right, so we'll begin in child's pose actually. That's just to start us off here. So again, at any time of this flow, if you want to move back to this specific pose, please do. Be gentle with yourself. All right. Perhaps taking the knees as wide as you like. Maybe the big toes are touching. You can extend your arms out as wide as you like, maybe shoulder distance apart or perhaps wider. And begin to release weight, softening perhaps in the spine, softening the neck, softening even the face muscles in the back of the skull, softening the hips and the pelvis, releasing all the weight, letting all the weight press into the floor or into the mat, softening the knees a little bit more if you can. And begin to connect with breath, whether natural or at your own pace. Perhaps now taking this time to ask yourself or check in with your body, with your energy, mind, and physical. Using the breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling perhaps through the mouth. And if at any time you lose your track or your pace of breath, that's okay. You can always start over at any time. If you need help or support with staying with your breath, maybe giving yourself an equal count of 4, breathing in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, or maybe 5, or 6, or 7, or less. And let the breath take over. Again, at any time, if you lose track, no worries, just start over. Being gentle with your practice, being gentle with your mind, telling yourself that it's okay. No rush, no big deal, or perhaps you'd like to do something different. All right. We'll move up into tabletop. So from here, bring your hands a little closer to the shoulders, planting really softly. And then making your way up, bringing the knees to stack underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders for protection and stability. We'll begin doing cat and cow. So beginning with a cat or maybe a cow doing a cat, I'm not sure. Breathing in, curving the spine, bringing the chest and the chin forward, tailbone up and back. Deep breath in, and then exhaling to alternate, curving the spine up, pressing the hands into the floor or the mat, knees, weight of the knees, pressing down, and pressing up and back into our spine. And then again, breathing in, hands are still pressing into the floor, reaching forward, reaching away with the tailbone. Exhaling, curving the spine up. We'll do a couple more just to help loosen up our spine. Breathing in, cat pose, or maybe a cow doing a cat. And deep exhale, cow, or maybe a cat doing a cow. One last time, big deep breath in. And exhaling. Bring the spine to neutral, centering. Bring the knees a little bit closer, and we'll just press back, sitting up on our knees. If you need a pillow or a blanket to protect your knees, please do anything that could help you. Here, we'll just place the left hand and we'll reach the right arm out. Big breath in, we'll reach the right arm up to the left side high, expanding on the right side body, perhaps anchoring down with the right hip, reaching out towards the longest finger in your right hand, and taking a couple breaths here, very intentional, gentle breaths. Taking one last deep breath in, we won't stay here too long. And on the exhale, bringing the right hand down, gently placing it on the floor. We'll reach the left side. Left hand out to do the opposite side, breathing in, reaching over. Taking a couple breaths here, anchoring down in the left hip this time, reaching out through the middle, longest finger on the left hand. Accompanied by some deep, long breaths. But not for too long, we'll take one last breath in. And on the exhale, dropping that hand back to the floor. All right. Well, bring your hands back in front of us, coming back into tabletop. We're going to do a downward facing dog, and perhaps this is the only lifting, rising pose we'll have. So, tuck the toes under, and before pushing all the way up, with your inhale, just lift your knees about an inch or so above the ground. So with the breath in, breathing in, lift up the knees. Holding this for a moment. And then when you're ready to exhale, just press the knees and thighs up and back. Either a full expression of downward facing dog, or taking this opportunity to pedal out the feet, being really gentle with the hips, maybe figure eighting. Or just holding a nice, gentle, full expression of downward facing dog. Perhaps the knees are bent to be gentle on the knees and the thighs. All right. Maybe stepping the feet back a little more if you have to. We're going to roll into high plank. So from the lowest vertebrae, you'll lift up, lower, middle, upper, until finally high plank. And just take a breath here or two just to feel this strength and this resistance that we're applying. Maybe we need less, maybe more. Take one more breath and then gently drop the knees, bringing the entire body to follow supine. How much time do I have?
We're 4 minutes over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Not staying here long. Well, actually, we'll keep the hands here. Just lift up for Cobra. Taking our breath or two here, maybe wiggling the hips gently. And then coming back down. From here, maybe you can release the hands and just breathe into the back. And you can either stay here or you can roll onto your side. And I'll put us into Shavasana. I will roll over. However, you want to get there with as little effort as possible, being gentle with your body, with your energy. Come into supine, or just staying wherever you are, or just getting comfortable however you like. Perhaps with the hands or palms of the hands facing up for a thought of relief. And I invite you to close your eyes here, beginning to connect with the natural breath or whatever breath flow you've applied. Taking your time, perhaps slowing down with each breath, next exhale, next inhale. Slowing down even more. And using the breath, softening the eyes, the face, the muscles, all the way to the body, surrendering to the floor, to the mat. And just direct your focus to your breath, to your breathing pattern, how fast, how slow, how long, perhaps how short. Perhaps noticing how your breath might be different now than when you started your practice, maybe how different your body might feel, perhaps when you started this practice. Noticing any slight difference, any sensations that may be arising, any thoughts that may be showing up, acknowledging them, being with, connecting, but also perhaps with the next breath, just letting that go, releasing, being gentle to the mind, to the body, not holding on, but just noticing. And before coming back and waking up, I'd invite you to roll onto your side, either side if you'd like, for a moment of comfort in the fetal position, breathing in to the back. And perhaps whenever you're ready, you can slowly come back, perhaps starting with opening the eyes, maybe with just a light, soft gaze at first, not opening completely, noticing yourself in the space. And then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes completely, coming back, maybe taking a breath of gratitude whenever you're here. And you can either stay here, rested, or you can make your way up to a seated position and joining us for our closing breaths for our practice and meditations today.
Your voice is so gentle. It's great.
Thank you. All right. So whether if you're here or if you're just lying down, that's okay. Be wherever you are, however you'd like to be. But please join me with some collective breaths. You can place your hands at the heart center or place them wherever you'd like. And we'll take a breath, big deep breath for the ancestors that we all represent and bring into our community and practice. Breathing in and out. A breath for the indigenous people who are on this land before colonization. Big deep breath in and out. A breath for our practice, our mindfulness, our intentions, whatever they might be moving forward. May they be strong and thoughtful. Big deep breath in and out. And finally, a breath for your community, your friends, your loved ones, your family, and yourself. Big deep breath in and out. Om Shanti. Namaste.
Stay, y'all.
Thank y'all.
Something I thought about too is
We're gently gonna exit out.
if you want to take your the 5 things you wrote down and like have it by your bedside or something that, you know, to put in a place where you can look at it often as a reminder. That could keep you on track. Word. I'll see you next week.
That end date wasn't planned.